Alright, welcome to the Tactical Cookies Hangar Tour Volume 2. This is actually going to give you a tour of the space bus, or the cookie kitchen, or the bakery, or whatever it is we decide to call this thing, but it's basically our home in the stars, and I think you guys are really going to like this. So, without further ado, let's summon the Constellation Andromeda. We turn our backs, say the magic word, and boom! Starship. So this is a Constellation Andromeda, basically good for exploration, can haul quite a bit of cargo. It's got a lot going for it, fairly fast. It will handle a crew of 5+, and basically I just think it's a cool looking ship. It's a home away from home. So I'm hoping we can do some exploration with this, find new planets, chart new jump points, sell that data to mining concerns, or maybe create some agreements with people who are going to mine the planet for resources, and we'll make some profit in the end as well. Basically, what we have here is a pretty good-sized starship. I'd say it's a medium-sized starship in terms of the entire Star Universe, pantheon of ships, but it's fairly fast. Not very maneuverable, as you can imagine, but it defends itself well. So there's a turret on the bottom, there's a similar turret on top. It's got these gigantic cannons that basically two-shot, most of the smaller single-seat fighters, maybe even one-shot some of the really small ones. And it's got a snub fighter also, a P-52 Merlin, which is a fairly respectable ship, but this one right here is a fighter that will detach from the unit. So basically we can have somebody jump into that, detach. It won't detach right away. I think that's actually coming in a future patch, but will be coming soon, and I think when it does, we'll be pretty happy with the result. This thing also carries a full complement, I believe, of about 48 missiles. So it's got a ton of firepower, but again, it's basically a sitting duck out there. So we will require people who can aim to man turrets, and hopefully the pilot, which I think will be me in a lot of cases. If somebody else wants to fly, that's fine too. But hopefully they'll be able to do some damage with the big guns as well. Let's take a look inside. So we've got the main entrance here, which is also an airlock. This thing's pretty cool. Jump on into this thing. And check this out. So it seals up, pressurizes or depressurizes as needed, and then we're inside the living quarters. Pretty fancy. The table's actually supposed to pop up from there, but it doesn't right now as of yet. And this is a shower slash toilet unit, which actually doesn't open right now either, but will soon. And then there is also the beds slash escape pods. So, and these actually work, so it's pretty cool. If we're out in the middle of nowhere, we can actually log out in the beds and not have to find a spaceport, as usual. So this is the cargo bay, and cargo bay is pretty cool. So it actually carries a decent amount of cargo, a little bit more than a standard freelancer would. But it also can carry rovers, etc., planetary runabouts, Drake caterpillars, Drake dragonflies, little runabouts that we can use if we decide to go planet side. And it's a, decent amount of space. When they put the ramps back in the game, I'll also be able to put that little gray cat buggy over there into the belly of the ship and take that with us wherever we go, so we have a little runabout as well. So pretty cool. The animations for the ship are just super cool though. Yeah. Alright. So let's take a look back here. A lot of these systems that you're seeing along the walls, gravity, life support, stuff like that. These are actually systems that will have to be maintained. So if they take damage in a fight, we're going to have to do something about those. So pretty cool, actually. They're fully fleshed in systems. And then this is the cockpit for that fighter that you saw hanging off the back of the ship. So you can actually get in it now, which is pretty cool. But the ship just doesn't detach quite yet. So the Merlin actually doesn't come with a jump drive itself, so it has to be carried around by something else that's jump capable, which is kind of a perfect situation for the Andromeda. So I guess the Andromeda is actually supposed to have some fairly long-range sensors, and also supposed to have fairly long range as far as fuel capacity and that kind of thing. These airlocks are functional, so later on we can jump out of the ship and go walk around like actually on the ship itself. But let's also take a look at the cockpit. Very cool. Avionics bay. And they added these doors so that if somebody, opens the airlock back there, opens the cargo bay, and the bulkheads are open, you won't automatically space the whole crew, which is pretty cool. So these are the turrets that you saw from the outside. You look up, hit use, and you'll get into the top one. The top turret's definitely got a lot better visibility, but this comes with two size 2 cannons that do a fair amount of damage, but they can fire for quite a while without overheating, which is pretty cool. So you'll see that the visibility is definitely pretty good there. You gotta be careful though, because if you actually get rammed in the turret by a bigger ship, it'll destroy the turret and eject the gunner. So that's definitely not good. And then the bottom turret, I think they're going to be reworking the visibility on the bottom turret a little bit, because it's certainly not as good as the top. So there's this. Seat comes up, looks comfy. And basically what you have is a belly gunner on a B-17, but with less visibility and a little bit more armor. Pretty cool. So the animations for these are actually awesome. Alright, so the other cool thing about this ship is the way that the seats are set up is pretty awesome. You've got the main pilot seat, which of course handles, flight control of the aircraft and firing of the main weapon systems. That's the seat right here. When we're actually out in the universe, these screens all light up, and there's holographic heads-up displays that are all around you. So Matt and Weepy and a couple of the other guys have already seen these.
Welcome to Roberts Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
But definitely pretty cool. So visibility is not too bad. The heads-up displays don't get in the way too badly. And for a ship of its size and class, it's actually got, a fairly decent view for combat. Although I'd imagine that whatever fighter escorts we have with us, the Merlin, when that's put into full flight capability, and the turrets will be doing most of the defensive, performing most of the defensive tasks for the craft. And then either of these side seats, the co-pilots, can actually manage systems. So when we're talking about systems, we're talking about diverting power from engines to shields or to weapons, moving shield priority around the ship, fore, aft, head, and bottom. So definitely pretty cool. I'm hoping they actually managed to move this HUD, or give you an option to move the HUD out of the way when we're not in combat. As it is right now, that whole thing lights up it's a monitor just full of information, and it just stays there whether we're fighting or not. So I'm not sure if there's a way to turn that off yet. If any of you guys know, please post in the comments. But essentially, it's a functional seat, so somebody can actually be doing stuff here in combat that will either keep us alive or kill the enemy. Very cool. So let me drop out of here. I'll pop open one of those airlocks in the back, and then we'll step out onto the ship and take a closer look at what's going on back there. I'm really hoping they flesh out the living quarters just a little bit better, but we'll have to see. They're always doing, repasses on these ships and showing us a bunch of different stuff that you can do and redoing textures, etc. Whoa. Oh, yeah. Looks like I dropped out of the ship. Oh well, but you get the idea. These are giant size 4 laser cannons that do crap tons of damage. And these engines, I don't know if there's a bug in the game or what, but they seem to get shot off relatively quickly. And we'll wind up losing some propulsion for it. But the ship is small enough to fit through, relatively small jump points. It should carry quite a bit of fuel for exploration, decent bit of cargo, and I think it makes a nice little command center for whatever fleet we actually manage to get going. So I know we've already got a couple of fighters. We have the bounty hunting ship, and I'm hoping we can put together some more heavy fighters like a Vanguard or possibly a dropship like a Redeemer, maybe a Retaliator for broad spectrum firepower. But essentially, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you can join me soon in the stars, and we'll see what kind of operations we can put together. But this is the Tactical Cookie Kitchen. I think maybe we've decided on kitchen. Not sure. If you guys have any thoughts on what we should call this thing, let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks guys, and have a good night.